While the 11 rack does excel at recording guitars and other instruments, it is your best friend on a gig. So in this video, we're going to show you 3 different scenarios on how you can use the 11 rack live on a gig. So in scenario number 1, what I want to do is use the pedal effects that are inside of 11 rack, and I want to drive a combo amp on stage. So I'm going to use the output to amp jack 1, which is right on the front panel. And it's on the front panel, so you can drive a combo amp very easily. Because the amp has its own EQ and drive controls, I want to make sure that I remove the amplifier models from the output that I send to the amp. And to do that, I'm going to have to go into the preferences page. So if I hold this button down for 2 seconds, you'll see that the preferences page comes up. And now I can drill into the output to amp preferences. And you see I have a separate one for the front and a separate one for the back. And now I can easily set the output of that to anything I want. So the rig input, which is whatever's feeding the rig. The amp input, which means anything that comes before the amp output, or the full rig. And I can even send the full rig and turn off the speaker cabinet. But because I'm running a combo amp, I want to send just the amp input. So that basically means any effect that comes before the input of that amplifier will be pinched off and sent out this jack. So I get all my cool wahs, I get my volume, I get any distortion that I might have loaded here, but I get nothing else. So that's scenario number 1. In scenario number 2, I just want to drive a live PA. So very, very easy. All I have to do is connect the XLR outputs on the back to the input of the PA, and I'm basically done. That contains the entire rig, because the XLR outputs are always sending the entire rig no matter what. There's nothing to configure. So amp modeling, speakers, everything. There is a ground lift switch on the back, so if you encounter a hum, you can push that in, try to kill it, and it probably will. So driving a PA from the 11 rack is really easy. In scenario number 3, I want to use a tube power amp and a 412 cabinet. And in order to do that, I'm going to have to change some settings because I want the amplifier emulation to be in there, but not the cabinet. So I'm going to go out the amplifier 2 jack here on the back. So I'll go into preferences. So you can see that it's still set to amp input. But if we listen to amp output, now that's got some amplifier emulation in there. If we go to rig output, you can hear how weird and phasey it sounds because there's now cabinet emulation in there. And here is rig output no cab. Why does it sound good? It sounds good because this entire time we've been using a power amp or 412 cabinet and this microphone. So those are 3 scenarios on how to use the 11 rack in a live situation. Because the output to amp jack on the front and the same one on the back are individually configurable, it means that you could, in a live situation, send a bunch of different outputs to different places. You might want to send the stereo out to a PA. You might want to send one of the output to amp jacks to a live cabinet for an on-stage monitor, and maybe the one on the back to a recorder, sending just the direct sound so you could reamp later. Now remember, all of the effects presets that you used when you made your record with this box are all in here. So that means that you can go from the studio to the stage and back with the exact same sounds you used to track your record. It's never been possible before the 11 rack. This is an all-in-one solution for both the recording guitar player and the stage guitar player.